What's up everybody, James Jackson here, back again with another video. If you're new to my channel, I do tips, tricks, news, and reviews for the film and video making industry, so if this is content you like, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification so you can stay up to date on all the content going forth. So, just a little bit of a backstory. So this is not the first time I've done this review. Well, it's not a review, but this is more of my initial review. Yeah, I'll say this. This is an initial review, so it's not a full review. But long story short, this isn't the first time I've done this. I actually did a whole run through of this the Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro before, and then I got to post and started to edit it, and that's when I noticed that there was some focusing issues that I was not expecting to happen. And given previous videos that I posted where I've talked about the Blackmagic cameras with focusing issues, they didn't go so well in terms of the likes and dislikes. So I'm kind of doing this all over again, but I'll still use shots from that video simply because it's actually still relevant to what I can demonstrate, and also because I don't have the Pocket 6K Pro anymore. I actually had to return it back to my good friend, and I want to thank my friend Gene Smirnoff for loaning it to me. I really do appreciate that. But I just wanted to let you know that, so you can wonder why is there like multiple different videos. But that's the reason why. But let's dive into it. As I mentioned at the top, this is sort of a first impressions review, or sort of my initial review of the Pocket 6K Pro. It's not a full review. Full reviews are for ones where I be able to shoot it on multiple experiences and do full reviews that way. But given the fact that pretty much a lot of the internals are similar to the Pocket 6K Pro, which I have been shooting on for years, and it's really just hardware issues, this is stuff that I feel like it's still warranted, and I feel like I've spent enough time understanding the image quality that comes with this camera that it's really it's going to be the difference between somebody looking at the original 6K compared to the 6K Pro. Is really the hardware differences. I'm going to go over the positive first. And the first big positive has to be the screen, which was really surprising. I thought the built-in NDs were going to be my favorite, which we will get to those. But I have to talk about the screen. It is like the best thing about this camera, and if it's something that you are considering, if you are a Blackmagic Pocket 4K or Pocket 6K original owner, this one feature to me is almost by itself worth the upgrade. The ability to now have a tilt-in screen, being able to move it up and down so you can get different shots at different levels without wondering if you have the frame that you want or going to an external monitor. It's a huge benefit to the whole style of shooting. Recently, the way I film is trying to be as minimalistic as possible with adding features to it. So if I can have a camera that basically doesn't allow me to add as much stuff onto it, that's always an A+. So even it's not fully articulating. I wish it was. I know all of us wish it was, but I will take it, especially given that it's a big, gigantic screen. I think it's 4 inches or 5 inches. I can't remember which one, but it's a pretty big size screen. But the biggest difference is not just the screen itself and the fact that it tilts now. It's the fact that it is an HDR screen as well. So it is very bright, and it's really easy to see. Even in the brightest of days, you can see the images that are coming off this screen, which I really do appreciate. I did some shots at a park that is nearby my house, beautiful sceneries, and I was able to just, I was getting low angle shots or I was going high, any shots I was getting, I was able to get it, which makes, the workflow of using the Pocket Cinema cameras that much easier, which was always my big gripe about the previous versions of the Pocket Cinema camera line. That screen to me is so pivotal on if you are somebody that's looking at this camera. It sets this apart among so many different cameras, including once you get to a lot of its other features. The next feature is, of course, the built-in NDs, which I myself if you know me, you know I'm big on built-in NDs. Cinema cameras that don't have built-in NDs are pretty much like almost non-starters for me. So having a built-in ND system into this camera is a really big difference, and it really does help you with all these bright situations. Though I must admit, I was not able to get as wide open shots as I wanted to, but then again, I believe I'm more spoiled by the capabilities of something like the C70 and the Canon Cinema line of cameras, which have been giving us up to 10 stops of NDs. So I'm kind of used to that field, which allows me to shoot a lot of fast apertures wide open. But having said all of that, the NDs on this is going to be fine for at least 80% of all shooting conditions. I think in very, very bright situations, like if you have something like a Sigma 18 to 35, you're probably going to be stopping down to an f4. Now, if you have lenses that really start at f4, then you can pretty much shoot those wide open with 6 stops of NDs. It's really once you start getting beyond the f4s and go into those more faster lenses that you will still struggle, at least in bright daylight scenarios. But having said that, built-in NDs are still a big deal, and I'm super excited that they are a part of this camera. Now the big thing, of course, we all know that it's talked about is the changing to the batteries. So now we got Sony NPF batteries instead of the Canon LPE6 batteries. And it is improved. However, what I have noticed was it's not that much of an improvement to the predecessors of this camera. I saw myself getting about maybe another 10, maybe another 15 minutes, which if you're doing gimbal shots, that may be enough to make the difference between if you're planning to use this on a gimbal. But my biggest problem with the battery life was not that, even though that was an issue. The real issue is that there's still no confidence of accuracies in terms of battery runtime. Like literally one time I was running, I put a new battery in, I turned it on, charged it, it said full battery, and then literally 5 minutes later, it dropped down to half. And that's something that really continues to bother me about these cameras, is that not having that ability to trust the battery signal that, hey, it's a full battery. And instead, it's kind of adjusting to see, oh, well, we actually can only do this amount of battery power, and it drops quickly, and all of a sudden, I don't have as much battery runtime as I thought I did. So, if Blackmagic in whatever future iterations of the Pocket Cinema camera line comes about, or any of their future cameras, if you can get more accurate, precise battery life, that would be appreciated. Now, to be fair, there is an extension battery pack system that they are selling with this camera that allows you to do hot swapping, which is very appreciative. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to use it because my friend doesn't have that battery pack extension. However, once we get to the negatives, especially given about the size, I personally, and again, this is me personally, everybody else may be different. I'm personally going to feel it's not going to be ergonomically friendly to how I would like to use this camera. And also just the fact that you're going to burn through 2 Sony NPF batteries that you have to charge and then swap out, put in more, and which means you're going to have to buy chargers for those, and multiple chargers probably, and then you're still probably going to need another set of batteries just in case those batteries are not fully charged yet, because Sony NPF batteries do take a long time to charge. So given that, that just seems like a very convoluted way for me to deal with a battery system. So I would just personally recommend, and this is just my personal recommendation, if you are planning to get this camera, I would totally tell you to go ahead and just get a rig system, rig it out, and get like either a V-mount or a Go mount system. I think that's going to be the best way. It's less problematic and it's less convoluted than actually just throwing a whole bunch of batteries there. Those are the positives. Now let's get into the negatives. And the big negative with the Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro is the ergonomics, more specifically the size. And I will say this, given the screen definitely has made a lot of difference in terms of ergonomics and being able to adjust. And the fact that everything is almost every 2 big adjustments, it's almost touchscreen. You can go in and easily access the menus and quickly change it. It's very great. The menus have always been great. But it's the size that's really continues to bother me. And it's not even the size, it's just the design of the body. And just because the mount's just sitting off-centered and just throws all the weight off. So now you got a super one-sided heavy camera that if you ever try to handhold it, it feels awkward. You don't really have a fine grip, and given the fact that there's no form of stabilization, where if it's in-body image stabilization or digital image stabilization, going handheld with this camera without really trying to rework or retool balancing the rig in some ways by adding things. I mean, you can definitely do it. I just personally, it's not as convenient as other cameras that have came out now, where they've got so much conveniences, and their center of gravity is perfectly designed, so it's a lot easier to go handheld with those cameras, that it doesn't draw me to go on and pull out and continue to shoot with that camera. Now, I know a lot of people, this is not going to seem like a big deal. They've already rigged out if they got previous Pocket cameras, they've already rigged this out. So going rig and basically sitting on sticks and monopods is not going to be a big deal. For those of you that are wondering about gimbals, it does work with gimbals, at least with just the base and just putting the plate on it on the gimbal. At least on the Xeon Crane 3S, it works perfectly fine. I'm able to balance it with no issues, no motor issues, no awkwardness. I'm able to run it, and I do appreciate. And again, with that screen, being able to just tilt it and get different low angle shots and visually seeing my shots is a big win in my personal opinion. In terms of 2 body design changes that I do appreciate. The first one being the fact that there's 2 screw mount points at the bottom, which is great because now you don't have to worry about only having one import and maybe getting a plate. You can actually just get a good solid quick release plate, put it at the bottom, and just put it so you can slide in and out, minimizing some cage uses. Or at the very least, if you do add a cage, you got more points of contact for security. So I really do appreciate. The other thing, of course, we gotta talk about is the additional XLR mini input. Now, it's great. However, I personally would have loved to see an SDI port or even a mini SDI port, kind of like on their Video Assist 5-inch version. That alone would have been great, and I would have taken that. It would have been a great addition to have instead of just another XLR mini, which I was perfectly fine with just one of them because you only get 2 sources of audio inputs, and you got 2 sources of audio inputs right there. So it's not that big of a difference for me because you can only put in 2 sources of audio. And of course, we still got all the amazing image qualities with Blackmagic Raw 12-bit. You got the dual native ISO, which gives amazing low light looks. You got great codecs with RAW and ProRes, just the flexibility of working in DaVinci Resolve very easily and smoothly, and of course you get DaVinci Resolve free with this camera. So again, all the great features, including 6K, 6K at 60 frames per second, which still a lot of cameras are not able to do. Having all these different features that were in the Pocket 6K original, now with this new body camera, the price at $2,500 is a very enticing and it's an incredible camera for that price. So overall, here are my final thoughts on the Pocket 6K Pro, is that for a camera at its price point, there is right now no competition. If you are someone who owns currently a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 4K or the original 6K, to me, the upgrade is a no-brainer. The built-in NDs and the screen alone are worth it. Even if everything else still are issues to me, if you already have one of those cameras, you've already built rigs and stuff around those, and just getting those built-in NDs and that tilt screen, to me alone is worth that extra $500 in the case of the 6K, or the extra $1,200 in the case of the 4K. It's well worth the upgrade in my personal opinion. However, if you're talking about the higher end upper cinema cameras, I just feel there's other cameras that are they're just simply better than it, that I would even spend more money for those because of just the convenience and how much they affect the workflow. Because workflow is really important to me, because anytime I can save time, I'm saving money, I'm saving my clients money, and that gets me more work. And I just feel like the workflow is with the Pocket Cinema camera, it's not as fluid as some of these other cameras that have recently came out. But that's it for me, y'all. These are my thoughts of the Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below and make sure to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, take care, everyone.